What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Good Game Grabs, and more importantly, welcome back to another episode of Sunday School. Today, we are talking about something that I know is kind of a snooze fest, but it's also very important, and that is your customer service, guys. I want to preface this by saying two things. There are two goals that we need to keep in mind here before we talk about customer service. And one is that you need to treat your eBay store like it is an actual business, guys. Obviously, it's not in a brick and mortar, doesn't have a physical location. You're also under the umbrella of another company, eBay, but you absolutely 100% need to treat this and treat your customers like you are running a actual business, guys. So just keep in mind when you're dealing with customers to try to put yourself in their shoes. Obviously, the customer is not always going to be in the right, but just try to have that mindset when you are dealing with people, even through just text, right? You're not seeing them face to face, but just act like you're talking to them face to face. The other thing is that it is important that we try to get our account to top rated or top rated plus, and we're going to talk more about that because it does tie in with the things that we're going to be talking about in this episode. So we're going to start with the spiciest thing first, I think anyway, and that's going to be your return policy. I think at very minimum, 30-day returns with the buyer paying the return shipping is the absolute minimum that you guys should be doing for your return policy. And that's going to allow you basically to filter out some of those people who may be abusing the free return policy that are on top rated plus seller accounts. But if you are doing 30-day returns, buyer pays return shipping, you can get top rated account status. Now, depending on what sort of eBay store you want to have in the future, you can decide to change your return policy then. I know like a lot of clothes sellers do free returns because clothing is pretty much straight up. Like you're gonna get the item, you see exactly what the item is before you buy it, right? There are no like little nuances to clothing. It's just, here's the piece of clothing. You know, sometimes, occasionally it doesn't fit or doesn't fit properly or whatever that may be, and the seller will return it. But you know, fortunately, most clothing also has a cheap shipping rate, so you're not out a bunch of money if you do pay for the shipping on the return. Now, obviously, there are benefits between top rated and top rated plus, but that is for another episode that is outside of the scope of what we're talking about today. And that's just dealing with customers and dealing with issues. So the number one thing to also remember when you do get a return is to inspect the item when you get it, and then make sure that it, doesn't have any, any funky smells that may not have originated with the item. I know that I've dealt with some items coming back to me that smelled like cigarette smoke, and you can deal with that process because they returned an item that wasn't exactly the way that you sent it out. Also, people can swap out items and send you the wrong item back, whether that was on purpose or not. That does happen as well. So it is also important to, again, make sure that the item you receive back is exactly the item that you sent out. I will say the one reason to not do no returns, and I know some people do no returns, that is a thing, the chance for you to get an item not as described goes way up. And that leads us into our little second portion here, and that's items not as described or INADs, and also getting strikes against your account. Items not as described are going to be probably the main thing that you're going to be worrying about. The other thing is going to be, lost or damaged items in your inventory, which again is why it's really important to keep track of your inventory as much as you possibly can, because if you do lose an item, you're pretty much SOL on that front. You're going to have to cancel the order, and you're going to have a strike against your account. And once you get so many of those after a certain percentage of transactions, you will then fall into regular non-top rated selling status. Back to INADs. Basically, if a buyer receives an item and they decide not to just simply start a return, they can say that the item was not as described either in the listing description or in the pictures, which is an issue. They can then return the item even if you have returns off. So that is why INADs are especially prevalent if you do not accept returns. So accept those returns, guys. Keep the business rolling. You have to just let those things roll off your back sometimes, and you just need to keep it going forward. It's a cost of doing business, guys. So, hopefully you don't get a return on a $500 item. Hopefully, all your returns are on items that are $15 or less. But yeah, just make sure that just going forward, you either learn from the situation, you learn from the return. Like, let's say that you weren't doing measurements in your clothing that you were listing, and the person said that it didn't fit. Well, in the future, you should start doing measurements in your clothing listings. That way people can measure their own garments and see, oh, okay, that would fit me if I order it. It just saves a bunch of headache beforehand, basically, because then they can determine whether or not that's a good item to buy if it's a piece of clothing, and you won't have to go through the return process. It's a win-win. It's also, very much so with like electronics. I do a lot of electronic sales. Test your stuff thoroughly. Like, test every little thing that you can test on that electronic so you don't get those returns. Another big thing that is important to do is to be responsive to messages. It is not 100% a factual thing, but eBay does look at how fast you do respond to messages. And it's really important that, if somebody messages you about an item, whether it be an offer or they want to know more details about it, that you at least engage with them. You may not have the answer right away, and that's okay. Like, let's say if you store your items off site somewhere and you don't have access immediately to the item, that is completely okay. Just at least open the channel of communication with that potential buyer and just be like, hey, yo, thanks for reaching out to me. I will get back to you as soon as I can, or, I'm not 100% sure right now. Whatever that may be, just make sure that you're being responsive and courteous to those potential buyers, and that will go a long way. I've noticed that just building a simple rapport with some buyers has led to a sale of even more items. I know that I sold a bit of slot car track, little vintage slot cars. And I had been talking with this buyer, and I said, yo, hey, I actually have some more track that I have unlisted. Would you be interested in those? And they actually said, yes, I would be interested. So we went ahead and I set up a listing, and they bought it immediately. So I sold, basically 2 sets of track, one that I didn't even have listed at the time, for a combination sale. I sent it all in one package, so the shipping was easy. It was just a great deal all around for them and myself. So it worked out pretty good. I also want to mention really super quick, and this is also maybe a little bit out of the scope of this episode, but be careful about people making deals with you outside of eBay. People will try to scam you and get your account either banned or, a strike against your account by making a deal outside of eBay. Do not do it, no matter under any circumstances, no matter how good the deal sounds. Do not make any deals outside of eBay. The situation that I was just talking about, like I said, I set up another listing on eBay for them to purchase. So yes, eBay does monitor your messaging between other users, and they'll get you. I was going to talk about using coupons and sending out offers and stuff like that, but I think that's the outside of the scope of this video. I think I will make it kind of wrapped into a tips and tricks video that's going to come towards the end of the series. So just stay tuned for that. We'll talk more about that, but it does kind of also involve customer service. But with that, I'm just going to leave you guys with this. We are all human and we all do make mistakes. So I think it is important just to be honest and transparent in your business practices. If you're not honest with yourself about your business practices, it's going to shine through at some point. It may not immediately shine through, but you know, it is just important to be on top of your game as much as possible so you can sell an honest and good product. So again, that kind of wraps into what I said at the beginning of the video. You know, just try to put yourself in the shoes of the potential buyer or the buyer and just go forth with that. Try to be kind and fair. Don't let people take advantage of you or try to scam you, obviously, but just, you know, try to find that nice balance in your customer service. I know this was a short one, guys, but thank you so much for hanging out with me during this episode. I know that there's a lot of little different, you know, tangents we can talk about in customer service, but I think it's just more or less just, you know, remembering to be responsive to messages, have a good refund policy, try to get top rated seller, at least top rated seller. You know, if you want top rated plus, that's up to you. But those are just the three main factors of your customer service that's going to allow you to make really great sales on the eBay platform. Alrighty, thank you so much, guys, for watching today. We are going to, like I said, have more episodes with, you know, tips and tricks, and maybe if you guys do want me to deep dive into more specific things in any of these videos, but if you want me to deep dive more into refund policies or stuff like that, please leave a comment down below. We are pretty much at the end of the series, aside from little tips and tricks and hints and all that good stuff. So, you know, if you guys have any questions, you can always hit us up in the Discord. The link is below. It is absolutely free to join, zero cost to you guys. You can ask me or other resellers questions that you may have in your journey. So don't forget to utilize that resource. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching this series. Again, we will have some more tips and tricks. Stay tuned, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button. If you haven't hit that like button, I'd really appreciate it. It costs you nothing to do, guys. But I hope you guys are having amazing sales. I hope you guys build your store to be enormous and make a bunch of money going forward. But until then, guys, we'll see you later on the next grab and on the next episode of Sunday School. Bye, guys.